we're back to some repair content. We'll file this under the never time to do it right, always time to do it again category. A couple of weeks ago I had a trip to Texas planned. I wanted to take this, but I hadn't changed the engine oil in a while, especially after I overheated it. And I knew that the rear end was acting a little wonky, and I figured it had gotten some water in it when I tried to turn this thing into a submarine. So I figured, all right, we'll do the rear end oil and the engine oil. Engine oil went fine, except the oil filter stuck. I ended up having to use a 2-foot freaking pipe wrench on it to get the oil filter off. I've never had that happen before, especially on a truck that was hot. You know, sometimes it happens on a cold, but never hot. So that was new. I didn't put it on quite as tight this time. Luckily, on this thing you can get to it. And I did the rear end, and I was hurrying because I needed to leave the next morning, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. And I did these Fords, these 9 3/4, at least in '97, and in 2003, like this rear end is, didn't have a gasket from the factory. It was just sealed with silicone or whatever stickum they use. And I did not let the silicone set long enough before I put oil in it. And now I have a massive leak, which is really aggravating. This is just from it sitting overnight. 2 massive leaks. That's just from it sitting overnight. Yeah, those are not small puddles. So, we're going to get under here today, rip this apart again, flush out the oil again, which I guess is good because it did have some, it was contaminated. It was rather dark anyway from the mismatched gear set I have in it, and then it was kind of milky. I fixed the vent while I was under there at least this time, so at least it won't suck in water next time I try to turn it into a submarine. But got the spare tire down because that opens up some room under there. Just, she's old, just looked at her. And let's see, where is it? There it is. 35th week of 2002. So this is a 19-year-old tire that still has the flashing on it. This, I don't even understand it, but this tire was put on this thing in 2002. This truck was only 5 years old at that point. But it's starting to really show its age. You can see the real bad grooves from where it pulls up against the frame. And we got some splits going on here. This is actual damage. Not really happy with that. It may not be, I don't know, but it's just, you know, it's a spare tire, so it'll do in a pinch. But if we get to the point where I need to put another set of tires on this, I'm probably going to order 5 of them just to have a good spare, because this is a good tire, but it's getting old, getting a little old. So anyway, we're going to get up under here and wipe up the oil I've already spilled out of the catch pan that I threw under there, which is fabulous. And try to knock this pan off. I bet it comes off a little easier this time. Last time it was really stuck. Of course, last time it wasn't leaking either. But we'll see you down there. Alright, the reason you take the tire out is you can kind of almost sit up under here, even with it just sitting on the ground. But, yeah, you can see my leak is pretty special. These are 12s. Nope. 13s. Oh, man, this truck. Freaking American. Back in a minute. Alright, we're back. These are 1/2 inch. Should know that because I did this last week. 12 bolts. This is the 9 3/4. Pretty good rear end, especially if you keep water out of it. I still have all the original tags. Most people aren't going to keep those. I like having them. The other nice thing about taking the spare tire out is you can get these top bolts with a zip gun like this. With the spare tire in here you can't. So I'm going to leave this one up there. And oh man, this thing. And she was so close to sealing. It was so close to being sealed. But she's still coming out pretty milky, so another flush probably isn't a bad idea. There it goes. Yeah, that's pretty gross, because that's only been in there a week. So we flushed a lot more gunk out of that system. So, all right, we're gonna let that mess drain. I'm gonna have to go get some more silicone, a little more gear oil, or a lot more. This thing takes like 3 quarts or better. And try to do it right this time, because I hate leaks. And this truck doesn't have any except the ones I inflict on it. Especially not too bad after 330,000 miles. So we're gonna let that drain. All right, so little steel wool, little engine degreaser, and that's all ready back to go on again. But now I gotta go do a little shopping because I'm out of dog food. She knows it. So I'm gonna run out, grab some silicone, grab some oil, grab some dog food, a few other things, fill up the big Dodge with some diesel, and we'll be back at it. All right, we're back. Got her all scuffed up and clean. Gonna just hit it in the pan with a little brake clean. Make sure she's as little oily as possible. Okay, now we're going to try to follow the instructions of this stuff. Lay a good bead, hopefully. Maybe. I usually prefer the ultra black, but this is all we had. Okay. Now, we're gonna try to put that together.
puppy's getting aggravated. Get as much of it away from the gears as possible. Okay. Now we're gonna try to set this thing as smoothly as possible. Just go finger tight until it starts to ooze, then let it sit for an hour. This one didn't cinch up all the way. Okay. Those are all snug, just barely. All right. Now we're just going to let it sit, and we'll be back to torque it, or crank it down anyway. All right, I don't know that I've ever torqued these before, but we're going to today to 30 foot-pounds. Woo! That's some pretty weak fingers. And there's probably a pattern to it, but we're going to do it this way. I would wager that the good and tight would probably be adequate, but since I screwed this up last time, we're going to try to do it right. All this silicone going into the gears probably. Oh well. And it's hard to keep that tab back from twisting. Alright, now we're just going to go around it. See if I missed any. Yep. Alright, now we're supposed to let it sit for 24 hours before we put any oil in it. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but we're going to let it sit a while, that's for sure. Some of the goo. Reattach the electrical wire to the brake line. And that's about done. Be back when we fill it. Alright, well, I think it's getting pretty good. I certainly didn't wait the full 24 hours, but the 8 hours I waited is certainly more than the 0 minutes I waited last time. So, I think we're going to finish this off by filling it up and, well, driving it to work tomorrow. Hopefully the leak is fixed. I think it is. This looks pretty good, and the stuff has solidified pretty nicely. So I think we're going to be in good shape. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Got any questions? Put them down in the comments. Otherwise, hope you're all having a good day. Take care.